Thank you to our sponsors for today's video, Nokian Tyres, Amber, and StarCharge. Nokian Tyres is a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made-in-USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantires.com/EV. This video is also brought to you by Amber. Amber offers a modern extended warranty for your Tesla's battery and more without the burden of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description below to browse their plan options and get started with a free over-the-air diagnostic check. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage and microgrid solutions. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to another 10% challenge. Of course, EV road tripping and how an EV road trips is hugely important to me and the buying public of electric cars. Well, today we have our VinFast VF8, and we're going to see how well this road trips. We've actually road tripped this car from North Carolina to Tennessee, and then from Tennessee to Colorado. Francie has driven this car pretty much halfway, a little bit more than halfway across the country, and so it's been on many road trips, but now we're going to run it in our standardized 10% challenge. The VinFast VF8, can it beat the Subaru Solterra or Toyota BZ4X? I don't know. We're going to find out. I'll walk everyone through the car, the testing procedures, and then Francie's actually going to drive and take you out on the 10% challenge in this while I run the Rivian R1S just afterwards. So, fun night of testing here in Colorado. Let's get into it. This is our VinFast VF8, and it is the Eco trim. This is the full range spec. There's like an Eco, and what's the top one called? Plus, okay. But both have an 87.7 kilowatt hour usable battery pack. It's like just over 90 kilowatt hour gross, so a very small battery pack. I mean, buffer, I should say. Yeah, buffer. Not the smallest battery pack. No, it's a pretty big battery pack, actually. Right. The only car with a larger battery pack in this category that I can think of would be a Mustang Mach-E. That's 99 kilowatt hour gross and 91 usable. VinFast being runner-up right there. Yeah, I think it's hard to tell. So the very first VinFast that came to the US, I think used SK battery packs. From SKI, and we have the CATL battery, which is the 87.7 kilowatt hour usable. This is the 2023 Eco, so it's representative of like the newer versions of the VinFast VF8. I don't know how many of the very first ones they brought in, but either way, doesn't totally matter. This is probably the one most people will go for, either this one or the Plus. Again, same drivetrain, same battery, just different sized wheels. And this one has a higher EPA range rating of 260, do you know what it is? 70, I think. 270. 270 miles. I thought it was 267, but maybe I'm rounding up by 3. Okay, plus or minus in that region. And then I think the Plus gets like a 20 or 30 mile hit, but more power. Just a tune on the motors. What's interesting is we've noticed this car is pretty inefficient, Francie. You drove it side by side with a Model Y Performance. Yes. And this got significantly less range. Yeah, it's a lot heavier than the Model Y Performance, and you can check that out. That's on the Out of Spec Motoring, but I've also detailed this on the Out of Spec podcast, which is what I do with Out of Spec. In case you don't know Francie or why she's here right now, this is my company lease, basically, my hazing. And yeah, hasn't been that bad, but the efficiency, especially next to the Model Y, was 1 mile difference per kilowatt hour. Efficiency, which is 2.7, and Jordan was around 3.7 when we drove them side by side. And it's not so much a comparable curve because it's a logarithmic curve, but it's basically sort of not terribly inefficient, but not efficient, and the Model Y is kind of magic. Yeah. And so a couple things working against you with this is a dual permanent magnet motors. So you can't ever shut one motor off. They kind of have to run. I'm not sure if they use silicon or silicon carbide inverters, but from everything I can find, it's just silicon. I don't know that to be 100% true, which is not great for, you know, partial throttle efficiency, and the dual permanent magnet motor. Typically, I like to see a permanent magnet motor on the primary axle and an induction secondary motor. It does help with efficiency. However, not so much the case here. We have not range tested this car yet, but I will do so because Francie's leaving me the VinFast.
Aww.
And she's going to take
the Rivian.
Do you want to take the Rivian?
I really do.
Okay. Yeah. If it's done in service in the time, I don't see why that would be a huge issue. It would be incentive for me to get it back.
Exactly.
I don't know why you want this one so bad, but Francie really likes the VinFast.
I do like it, but also it would be awesome to take the Rivian. A lot of people have argued, though, drive the VinFast out to Colorado, drive a Tesla back to really see the difference between, you know.
Yeah, I thought the Model 3 would be great. I would offer the Model S, but I've got stuff for that car where I can't let it go.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to Tennessee, I feel like I need a truck.
Either way, 10% challenge. So what's this test all about? This is all about the efficiency of charging and the efficiency of driving. So we look at charging performance and range all in one. A lot of people now are pretty familiar with this test. I think it is the ultimate, for me, the most important test of an electric car, and the one I would make a buying decision off of. Because I road trip a lot, because I value my time and don't like to sit at chargers all day, every day, and stop a ton. I like to charge fast, drive fast, and go a long distance. So we combine all of that here. The plan, we are gonna plug in the VinFast VF8 as soon as it dips from 11% down to 10%. That's why it's called the 10% challenge. It's at 11% right now, and as soon as it dips to 10, we have the climate running, we're gonna plug it in. We are going to charge after it initiates a charge for exactly 15 minutes. The reason we charge for 15 minutes is that's about as long as I can stand sitting at a charger. And so I think that's a reasonable amount of time. You plug in, you pee, the kids go pee, the dog pees, whatever, everyone pees. What else do you do at a charger? I don't know.
I don't know.
And then you get back in and then you hit the road. And because this isn't our range test, this is the 10% challenge on a road trip, most people don't drive 70 miles an hour on a highway like we do our consistent range testing at. Most people probably drive 80, 85. So we run at 80 miles an hour for this test.
Scary.
And we run it on a high speed limit road here in the northern Colorado area where it's safe to do so. And we typically wait till the evening time so there's no traffic. But today is honestly perfect conditions. I sense no wind. It was windier earlier, but not right now.
I sense no wind.
It's like totally still.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. It's like mid 70 degrees, nice. 82, my watch says, probably like 78 to 80, something like this.
Yeah, barely breezy.
We are giving the VinFast every opportunity to perform well here. So no one can say we're going out of our way to make this car look bad, because we're not. And I actually just drove it for a little while now, and I there's a lot of nice things. Like it shows state of charge on arrival in percentage. It shows your distance to your destination, not just like 17.2 miles away. It's like 17.24. I've never seen one do to the second decimal place.
Yeah, really data forward.
Yeah, so that's the whole idea here. Once we get out on the highway driving 80 miles an hour, we're just gonna go out halfway, 80 miles an hour, turn around, come back, and we will dip from 11 to 10%, cruising at 80 still, and we log the mileage, and then we compare that to all the other cars. And so I guess the big thing here is this is the first time we're doing a standardized charge test with this as well. Now, this isn't a 0 to 100, but this will be a 10 to whatever it gets to in 15 minutes. And one thing you've noticed, Francie, is like this isn't the worst charging vehicle out there. It does 150 kilowatts.
144?
Yeah, and you know, it's not a cheap car. Do you know what the sticker price of this one is?
Yeah, it was 48.
48,000. So, you know, it's good money, but most people with the VinFast probably aren't buying them. They're leasing them like we did, and they have $1,000 down, $249 a month lease special right now. I just looked at their website,
nice.
Which is similar to what we did.
Yeah.
And that starts to make a lot of sense. Maybe like Colton, you get an EV6 for less money, but that's a very Colorado situation.
Yeah.
So what we have to do now is I've told you a little bit about the car. We're basically going to see how good of a road tripper the VinFast VF8 is. I would say just anecdotally, Francie, how long were your charging stops coming out here?
I think on average they were about 30 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, some were longer, but that's because I got distracted talking to people for a long time.
Okay, so I'm just thinking like our Audi e-tron will do like 0 to 80 or 5 to 80 in about 30 minutes. And that car just sits at 150 kilowatts all the way through.
It'll do 5 to 80 in 30 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. How deep were you charging on your road trips?
Yeah, about that much.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
unless I was really doubtful, 85. Then I would get to the next one.
So yeah, the car's still fresh. It just got broken in, just over 3,000 miles. Battery's fresh. I don't think it has preconditioning.
I don't think so either. If it does, it doesn't tell us.
It doesn't tell us. There's no indication. I'm going to nerd out, get the OBD stuff on it later on, but we'll find out. But I think the battery's got to be at a perfect temperature because we've just been cruising on it nicely and it's perfect temperature outside. We should be ready for a monster charging session. We'll get some good data off of the EVgo Delta high power station. So let's not delay. Let's get it plugged in. I've walked Francie through all of the locations where she needs to go. I hope you get the route right. Otherwise, we'll have to scrap it and redo the test.
No, I'll get it right.
And you have to maintain 80 miles an hour. So it should be kind of fun and interesting. So let's do it.
Yeah, wish me luck.
So I keep having to set the temperature to 90, but you have to keep your eyes on this because it might... Oh yeah, see, it goes to 68. Stay there.
Open it up.
Oh!
It has the AC on.
Yeah, I want everything on.
Oh, well.
We got to drain the battery from 11 to 10. See, 90 stays on the right side just fine.
There we go.
Okay, stay. Good car. VinFast has some bugs. Now, this is on the latest software update. We just had it software updated a week ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago on my way out here when I got here. So this is version 12, but version 13 was coming pretty soon after.
Oh, okay, so maybe on the way back it'll get 13. There's no VinFast dealer in Denver, right?
No, I think the best one to do, no, there's no above Wichita, Kansas. There's not in the middle of the country. No, it's across the Smile Coast, but you're going to have to probably, or whoever brings it back.
Right, so basically what we're doing now is we have the battery at 82.4 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like perfect temperature for fast charging.
82.4.
Yeah, like low mid 70s is what they, you know, for like a minimum arrival is pretty good. This is just fine. I just wanted to show the viewers a couple things. First of all, we are going to go lights on because we're trying to burn some juice at the moment. So we're going to put all the loads on this thing. There's also a trip. If I click here, our lifetime miles per kilowatt hour is 2.8. And your lifetime miles per hour is only 8.3 miles per hour.
Okay, but if you'll see, like in the out-of-spec motoring, the first one and the other one, sometimes, like, I would get in and this would say 3, and I've been driving around not that fast all day. So I do think that while she's less glitchy after the update, she's still as forgetful.
Okay, but hopefully it will log our efficiency in trip B.
I think
I'm going to try and keep trip A as lifetime, at least for the life of however long we have it. Let's see, if I go to the EV settings, we have everything charging to 100 just in case magically it goes full send and it makes it to above 80% in 15 minutes. And I did this to mess with you, where it will only warn you at 1% when you're low on charge.
Oh, thanks for that. As if I'm not going to watch it the whole time.
Well, yeah, some people don't.
Well, thanks for telling me.
Yeah, now you know. Okay, so power and regen gauge, and then you can display in miles or percent. Percent is what we typically base everything off of, but you can see it's probably pretty close on miles because we're at 11% with 29 miles remaining of rated range, I'm guessing. I don't think this does a guessometer. Things I'll have to learn and play around with, but yeah, I mean, there's some interesting things in here. Now, in terms of routing to the charger, it should already have this one in memory. Doesn't seem to. So you'll go to, just to make sure that it will precondition, if it does, because part of this test is once you get halfway, you select the charging station that you're navigating to, which would be the one we started at, and it brings you back in preconditions if it needs to. We don't start just preconditioning because that's not very representative of a road trip. And sometimes cars will be like, oh, the charger's right here and I got to cool down right away, and it hurts your efficiency. So we always get halfway and then navigate back to the charger to incorporate a preconditioning function. We can't blame the VinFast for this slow loading right now because literally there is no cell service here.
Usually that doesn't have a problem.
And I can't load stuff on my phone at this station. It like comes in 5-minute waves where you'll always have bars, but you'll get service and then it just goes away for 15 minutes.
Weird.
It's infuriating. So I think we should be good to go. As soon as it dips to 10, we'll start the charging process, start the test. The heater's ripping. By the way, on the spec sheet, I think it says this car is a heat pump.
Okay.
But I hear no buzzing.
So maybe they thought they might have one.
And the owners groups that I browse, people are like, I don't think this car is a heat pump.
I saw that in forums as well.
So I don't think this car is a heat pump. But the exterior temperature is perfection, and the battery temperature is perfection, and we're getting ready to do the 10% challenge. In terms of setup on the car, Francie, just ahead of time, you're going to run Eco, I'm guessing. We'll run regen in whatever setting you're most comfortable with. It doesn't actually matter because it will add regen with the brake pedal on a blending. So I think that's kind of all you really need to do. You'll run 68 auto on the climate control if it can remember. It might take you a few tries.
Yeah, set it.
And it has great driver assistance. I have to say, I just used the driver assistance for the last hour draining this thing, and I was really impressed. Really impressed. That was good.
That's truly one of my favorite things about this car.
Although I don't think it'll do well in the hogback because it was perfect on the straight roads, but then on one corner it just was like, nope, and went straight.
I think it might lose some confidence on, fast, curvy roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle is shutting everything down. We've hit 10%.
So 68 sync, just so when we turn it back on, we're good. So everything's off. If I come to the battery settings, which don't tell me, I'm sure I can find it somewhere.
Yep, go back to the home.
Oh yeah, EV, charging, this one, 82.4 degrees. We're at 10% state of charge. Time to get it plugged in. So the nice thing about using these EV Go chargers is they actually have a timer on them. And so they will do the 15-minute calculation. I'm curious about the handshake. Now the handshake most of the time is up to the charger and the car. You can't blame one or the other, but I'm curious to see if there's any like excruciatingly long handshake to go on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in the CCS connection. I'm then going to tap the card. So now we can start the handshake timer. Let's see. This will be, I've never charged this one before. That's not true. I charged it in Raleigh, but we had some issues. Checking cable safety. Come on in. Let's take a look. So it's going through the handshake communications at the moment. All loads are off on the car. As soon as we start charging, we're going to actually turn on the air conditioning. Okay. We always run with climate on, but in this handshake period, we do keep it off just for the consistency. Sometimes this takes a few tries. And you can run climate while it's charging, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's making its way through everything. Oh, here we go. Wow, 380 volts at 10%. This is a high voltage car, actually. Not like 800 volt, but that's pretty good. So 70 amps, 384. So now, Francie, if you wouldn't mind kicking on the climate control, just running 68 on auto, I'll let you do that. Whoa, we're zoomed way the heck in. Okay, and we're already up 210 amps. Max 315. Wonder what's up with that. Max 124 kilowatts. So we have a charger issue. Oh, bummer. We got to go to an EA station.
What? Why?
Yeah, because the charger is limited to max 124 kilowatts.
Why is it? Why?
They could be doing site level sharing.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did say this could be an issue, this particular site.
Okay.
So I think, yep. Well, I'm just going to give you up to 13%. We'll redo these procedures basically. But wow, that's high voltage, 400 volts at 12%. That's good. Yeah. That's really good. That's what you want to see for good charging. But the car can do more than what the charger is. So let's stop and we'll go to the EA station on the other side of the highway.
All right.
All right, see you over there.
I'm following behind Kyle over to the new charger. We are at 11%. I can see it in my heads-up display, which has less information than it usually does. I don't know if Kyle changed that or what. And we're about to run it down to 10% and try to see if we can get full power on this next charger, Electrify America, since EVgo was derated.
Well, you join us now at Electrify America station. Now, the thing is, these are only 150 kilowatt units. However, they're actually more like 175s, and the Signets will do 400 amps, which should max out the VinFast.
Yeah, supposedly, from everything we know, the peak speed is 150, but technically.
Yeah, and you've never seen 150 on the car, and you've plugged into the 350 kilowatt chargers.
Sure have. Sometimes that's been the only option, too.
Right, sure. So we should be okay here. And We're back here at 11%, so we're going to do the same. Oh, 10, shut everything off.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, that was perfect timing. Okay, so this really didn't add much. Now we are just like another half a mile away from the highway, which is a little bit annoying, but it's okay. We've used this station for 10% challenges before. We have activated the charger. The mountains are looking crazy back there, by the way. Cool. Just insane views here. Thankfully no wind, but it looks like they're having some weather, but I checked, we're safe. All right, let's plug it in. Let's check the handshake time. In we go. And we'll make sure we're getting full power. Now, does the VinFast tell you when it's derated? Okay, it went red right away. Oh. And now it's not orange. So let's try that connection again. Hold on, just connecting. It would be yellow here, though. We also tried again. And now EA says this one should be free, but the car shows an error. Yeah. So we're going to move to this station. Let's try this one. Let's hope the fourth time's a charm. Things look decent here. Okay. In we go. We got yellow. Connecting the vehicle. And the car seems happy. There's a little... Yeah, initiating charging. Great. A V here. That's all good sounds. Yeah. Now I just want to see a blinking green V. Yep, so once it starts, you can click climate onto 68 on auto. Because that's what we always do. All right. Welcome, Kyle. Pass Plus membership. Okay, still, is it charging? Yeah, there we go. And it's ramping. So let's see what kind of speeds we get. Now, what's interesting is there's an updated display in the VinFast now. And the charger, again, does have a timer, so it will count for the exact 15 minutes needed. This one will show, so we're at 68, auto, everything's good. Don't need ionization. And so that's exactly what we need for the conditions. Look at this, incoming and receiving. That's my favorite part. So this happened in the software update from, I was on version 10, I stopped in Wichita, Kansas, amazing, got version 12. And this came with it, along with the de-quirkifying the car. So we're already at 12%. We're at 140 kilowatts, so that makes me think we are not station limited, because the station can do, again, up to about 175 or so. Cool. And that's about what you see on this car, is 140 max most of the time. Yeah, 144 is what I've seen multiple times. So. Okay, and that's at below 10% state of charge? Not always, no. Okay, yeah, well, all seems good. You know, look at that, doing 100, so this is the losses between the incoming port and into the high voltage battery pack. So we have basically a little bit of heat loss, but also AC is using some. So this is great. So we're basically going to charge 141? For, yeah, 141 kilowatts delivered, 139 into the cable. And also some of these meters have some variance to them. Surely. But yeah, pretty cool. On our first road trips, there would be 1% discrepancy in what the charger would tell you the car's state of charge is and what the car was saying, but now they match up. So I do think that the update fixed a lot of weird things about it, not everything. Dang, and did you hear that? The AC compressor is ripping now. And so this is where the discrepancy goes even bigger. So 143, the charger says 145. That's the fastest you've seen so far. Yeah, maybe. And going into the batteries 139. So it seems like the battery likes 140 kilowatts or so. And this thing is screaming the AC compressor. Yep. 15% already now, 145 kilowatts being sent through the cable. I love how it shows you what's going into the battery and the port. Yeah, super cool. VinFast gets so much right. They really do. I think, yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, be nice to VinFast, but I think when you're coming at it objectively from what you've all compared, you're going to be able to see where it does have aspects that are appreciated by EV drivers. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, okay, this car was absolute crap when I drove it for the first time. Yeah. I wouldn't call this absolute crap anymore. Nope. I would say the ride quality is unacceptable for me. The drivetrain performance in terms of pedal tuning, couldn't live with it. But I'm going to live with it for the next month or so more. Yeah, you'll have to live with it. Yeah. Oh, the Ioniq has stopped charging and is now clogging up a space because no one's in it. Oh, what do you think they're doing? Grocery shopping? I think the grocery store's closed. Oh. I really don't know anything about the curve. It's my first time experiencing this in this situation. So we'll of course update the viewers. We'll do a real charging video on it as well. But I'm impressed so far. This is like e-tron levels right here. High 400 volt pack right here, you know, at 10% at 400 volts. That's impressive. And it's just kind of sitting, you know, pegged. Love that. So we'll let everyone know how this goes, but we got you know, another, I don't know,
12 minutes.
12 minutes till we got to unplug and drive 80.
Woo! So the battery, Kyle was saying, it's kind of going up in degrees Fahrenheit. It's getting warmer. And when Jordan and I first road tripped this EV after picking it up, like Kyle said, we did 800 miles from North Carolina to Tennessee. And when we would stop and DC fast charge, it would come up with a EV battery overheating warning. Stop the car and get out. And it was like, well, it's plugged in and charging, so you should know that. But it was only about like 95 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when it started to give that warning. So I don't know if it'll go that high right now.
Well, it's at 95 right now.
Oh, so maybe if it goes over that or 97, we'll see. But maybe they also fix that in the
because it definitely
update.
That's not overheating. That's normal
Exactly.
operating
It's definitely
temperature.
rated for something different, so that we thought was odd.
Yeah. So all seems to be good here. I mean, the battery's still getting 140 kilowatts just pegged, and then, you know, the extra is going to the AC compressor. So
she's doing her best this evening.
This is a great charging session, and I like that it pulls extra from the charger to compensate for the loads rather than pulling down your max charging. So that's pretty cool. So at 28%, we saw a peak of 146 kilowatts on the charger, and then it just tapered. We're now down to about 135 kilowatts at 28%. Also, I think that over temperature warning's gone away, Francie, because it's showing human operating temperature, 98.6.
That's good. It's good that she knows what she can handle, you know?
Yeah, and no warnings, no freaking out. It's all good. We are now down to roughly 100, just over 100 kilowatts at 32%. That's pretty weak for a battery this big. I really would have expected a higher C rate to hold. Yeah, there we are, under 100. This is interesting. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, 100 kilowatts into the battery at 33%. This thing should do 150 to 50%, but comparing this to like a Model Y with most of its packs, they dip under 100 kilowatts, around 50%. So we're not too far off, but keep in mind that car has a peak of 250 kilowatts, where this is 150 kilowatts. So certainly it's not on par with the benchmark in the segment, certainly from an efficiency standpoint. I should also mention the Model Y did 100 miles roughly in this test. I think it was 99 or 100 plus or minus. It was not the most efficient Model Y, that was on the bigger wheels. So I'd be impressed if this could match it, although I think we're looking more at like e-tron, you know, 70-80 mile territory is my guess after seeing these numbers, but really time will tell. I have no idea. We're 9 minutes into the charging session, another 6 to go. Let's see how it goes. We're definitely tapering now, 90 kilowatts here. Nothing amazing at 34%. And I wonder if it's trying to keep the battery at maximum 100 Fahrenheit, because that's only 37 degrees Celsius. That's way too cool. So I can't imagine that this is what's limiting. But again, we started with a very reasonable battery pack temperature. So this is what you would experience on a road trip regardless. This is testing procedures to a T. I'm noticing a little bit of weird behavior here, just ticking up from like 85 kilowatts to 93-ish coming into the car, 94. So have you ever noticed it get actually faster?
Sometimes I have seen it dip and then it gets fast again.
Yeah, okay. So maybe that's normal. Just sometimes cells have a chemical stress point, and it certainly wasn't limiting based off temperature, or maybe it is. Maybe it just tries to keep it, because now you can see it's 102 and it just dipped back down to 85. Have you ever seen it go higher than this temperature on the battery? What's the highest you've seen?
It's a great question. 105 at least is in my memory.
Okay, so then it can't be limiting. Yeah, because now we're up at 90, 80. So it's like doing a little signet surge, which is these are signets, but I don't think that the surge is fixed now. So
it did this on our original road trip too, where it would ramp down and then up and
okay, so just weird behavior here. But either way, we're at 13 minutes, only 2 more left to go. I don't think we're going to see a huge result, if I'm honest.
Like if we're going to hit 100 miles.
I don't think you're going to hit 100 miles.
You don't think I'm going to hit 100 miles?
I think there's no way.
What's your best guess?
I think best guess 60 miles.
You think it's only going to go 60 miles?
Well, we're really not doing very well down here. We're like in Subaru Solterra speeds. All right, we're at 14 minutes. I'm going to stop it as soon as we hit 15.
All right.
You know, really mega cars, Taycans, I'm thinking, are doing well over 50, even touching 60 kilowatt hours in 15 minutes delivered. And we're at that just about 30 kilowatt hours delivered.
Yeah.
We'll see the final number when we get there. But it is just holding 90 kilowatts. It's not the end of the world. It's going to be way better than a Bolt or a Nero or something like that. So yeah. I don't want to say this is the worst thing ever.
No, but your charging stops on road trips will be a little bit longer.
Yeah, then definitely a Model Y for sure, I think.
For sure.
15 minutes, stop. Stop. There we go. 29.477 kilowatt hours delivered, 15 minutes on the nose, and we charged to 43%. So you can shut climate off right now, just so we don't have any loads on the car. We want to give it as fair of a shot as possible. So I will unplug us. Tire pressures are set, by the way. Set to, I don't know exactly, cold or it's a staggered pressure. Yeah, 38 front, 41 rear. You'll be just above that because it's warmed up a bit. So we're good. Okay. All right, Francie's going to get this thing set up.
Here we are. So I'm going to do auto on 68.
Yep.
We're going to make sure I have the lighting right. Auto, no fog.
Yep.
And no front fog. And then we
reset the trip.
B, right?
Yep. All right, head out. No delay.
Bye.
See ya. Good luck. Oh, yeah, put it in eco. She just did that. Great.
We are merging onto the highway. We've got, actually I'll just stay in this lane because I'm about to get on the toll road that we take, 470. I am at 42% state of charge. And yeah, like I said, 68 degrees auto. I've chosen the blue interior ambient lighting, although, you know, maybe I'll change it during the drive. I would think typically people would have this on during a road trip anyways. It's part of the ambiance. We also already checked the GPS to see how accurate the VinFast VF8's odometer is. Speedometer. And it is very accurate on the dot. So I am confident that as I go 80 miles an hour, it will be 80 miles an hour as it would be according to the GPS. So that's very accurate, which is not super common, as Kyle was sharing with me. As aforementioned, dear friends, I do run the Out of Spec podcast, so feel free to tune in there for all things EV. We talk to everyone, we talk about everything electric vehicles. And I did cover a lot of the, so with the automatic, you saw the automatic brights. Did you see those happen? So now I can actually merge over because I passed everyone at 80, so that's great. Just camp in the right lane. But what we can see here is that we've gone 7 miles and we're already down to 39%. That is, we started at 43. So, you know, also when you're driving the VinFast, you can see this kind of stat. So 39% state of charge. It's estimating 104.1 miles of expected range. I, on the podcast, documented all of the data that I collected throughout my road trip, and people helped me analyze it in the comments. So if you're curious, feel free to check out parts 1 and 2 of my latest VinFast podcast updates of the road trip and see the trends that I have experienced in the VinFast, which is that it was maybe about like 86% accurate for the most part in the expected range that I got out of it based on all of my numbers. And I mean, that's pretty decent. Typically I was running like 75 miles an hour. There was one point when I was running pretty low and still pretty far from my destination, so I slowed it down. But yeah, you can check that out. One of my favorite things about the VinFast is the highway driver's assistance. It is, as we were describing, really great. I have it on right now and I really don't have to give much input at all. I keep, of course, my hands on the steering wheel, my eyes on the road, but it keeps you lane centered and it's really great on highways. I am not so confident that it would take twisty, curvy roads that well, although it does do, you know, gradual, ooh, you see that lightning? Gradual curves quite well along highways. I've really over almost, well, there's over 3,000 miles on the odometer and we got it at a really low mileage. I have been pretty confident. I am continuing to cruise on the highway, holding a steady 80. Not too bad, not too much traffic. Some people, they're trying to ruin my test and cut right in front of me, but you know, they haven't ruined anything yet. One thing, of course, is that it drives itself pretty nicely, and also it is a pretty quiet ride. I mean, I can hear a good bit of the road noise, but I mean, this car is it's not built to be light. That's definitely not what they did. So it's certainly not hollow. There are heavy doors, heavy seats, heavy aspects. It's a heavy electric vehicle. That being said, I think there's some pretty good sound deafening noise. It's also just electric, so it's quieter. And if you listen, no rattling. There's really no rattles that I've ever felt in this car. Kyle doesn't like the ride quality. I can see what he means. My standards, I think, are pretty low just because of the life that I live, but I do think it's generally comfortable. I do like the seats. The steering wheel has some pretty good, it feels good in my hands, and it also has heated seats and a heated steering wheel. So in the winter, that is very nice. I've driven most of the 3,000 miles. I also just I'm about to hit 18 miles right now. We're at 34% state of charge. Expected range of 90.7 miles is what it is telling me. I'm watching lightning strike in the distance, and I'm merging over to the right lane. And most of the 3,000 miles, like I was saying, I've driven with my dog, and he has been pretty comfortable in the back. I love the fact with electric vehicles, you know, you get the heat, you get the AC right away. And that is great in the summer. It has pet mode, which I love. It has camp mode as well, which I'm excited to try out. Hopefully I get to do that before I have to hand this over to Kyle. But I've tried pet mode myself, and it works. And I think that's a really great aspect. So I think it's going to be interesting as Kyle has this EV, as we begin to notice these really valuable things that the VinFast has in store. Now, I can't actually do any over-the-air software updates now or anytime soon as far as VinFast is concerned. They're waiting to do that, and we've talked about that on the Out of Spec podcast as well. Over-the-air updates. Why wait? Does it make sense? I think for an automaker like VinFast, yeah, sure, get confident. It will be wonderful once you can have over-the-air updates, because this reputation of being super quirky and glitchy, a lot of those problems were fixed with this update. I don't get in with any errors. So on that aspect, I think that if more people could get the software update, no matter where they are, no matter if they are close to a dealership or not, and there are not many service centers all throughout the country, then that would really help them out, I think, generally with the impressions that people have of the car. Alrighty, folks, like we said, I'm turning around at 25%. We're at 28%, still holding steady, 80 miles an hour. Expected range now 74.6. Did I just see that change so dramatically right in front of my eyes? Interesting. Okay. Oh, it's going between 81 and 80. Holding 80. Okay, back to it. Yeah, so I've got about 3 more percentage points until I figure out where to turn around. We've gone 28 miles. It's not looking great. Honestly, this is really not looking great. The 80 miles an hour is perhaps not the strong point of the VinFast. I'm gonna get around this car, not be slowed down by this person not driving an electric vehicle. As we kind of mentioned, I've been driving the VinFast VF8 for since January, and I really have had a pretty good impression of it. The chimes are too loud. It had a lot of weird sensor errors go off in the beginning. It's quirky. Sometimes it would be confusing. Sometimes it would need a reset, and that would be interesting. But I think with the with the software update and the improvements there, as well as the already decently strong points in the car, these kind of premium options when it comes to EV, it's really not the worst option. I think it's going to be really cool to see what Kyle thinks about daily driving it. Okay, we hit 25% in 33 miles, and that is my turnaround point. So I'm going to take the next exit. They look to be pretty straight away, so I'll be able to keep a good speed. So yeah, I guess time to do that now. Turn around. I'm getting ready to take the exit in just a mile, and I'm getting ready to also choose the charger so that, oh dear, so that I can work to precondition, just put it in there when it's time to turn around. This is where I turn around. I am at 24%. We are back on the highway, got right off, got right back on, and at the stoplight I was able to find the right charger. And it says that I'm going to arrive at 9%. So perhaps I hit 10% and then I can just exit right back to that charger, but that's the goal. I have to hit 10% while driving 80 miles an hour. So one thing about VinFast is that the user interface is not always great. So like this screen takes up the whole thing. Like what if I want to get away from this screen? Oh, well I do that and I click X. Okay, not that bad. But okay, let's see. 22% battery now. We got off at about 24 and then got back on around the same. And then, yeah, we got an expected range of 58.7 miles until empty at 80 miles an hour. The battery temperature went down a little bit to 80, 84. Okay, and as you can see, it's giving me some instructions on how to get back to the charger. So I think I'll keep that up just out of curiosity and track how the actual percentage compares to, okay, now this is down to 8. So things like that. Yeah, I don't usually drive at 80 miles an hour on a road trip because I do want to conserve in the VinFast, and I found that it's good to go a bit slower in this heavy car. So the VinFast is driving itself right now. You saw the auto headlights come on, and it's driving through a little bit of a curvy, I would even say a bit of a treacherous scenario right now with some construction stuff up on the sides, these big concrete railings, and it's still handling the curves quite well. There was one curve that was a little bit long that it started to veer out of the lane, but as you can see, it looks pretty straight ahead. But if I get some curves coming in, I'll show y'all. Now, what do I think about the 10% challenge where you charge up 15% and you see how far the car goes at 80 miles an hour? I do think it is a good representation of like what an electric vehicle should be able to do and what kind of efficiency numbers it has. It doesn't seem like the VinFast is quite measuring up to that. And like I said, not really a surprise from my road trips, although I don't go 80 miles an hour. And as you can even see along this road, there's parts that have construction. I think that's also pretty normal for highways that you typically run into construction somewhere that'll bring down your average miles an hour and your efficiency, or change it in a way. Either way, we are seeing that the destination, at the destination, the state of charge will be 8%. That's in about 15 minutes. We're at 16% state of charge right now. If we click on the battery, yeah, it says an expected range of 42.6 miles. I do think it does consider, I mean, I'm not sure of exactly, I guess, all the components of a guessometer, but I do think that it starts to incorporate different behaviors because the state of charge on arrival does tend to change a little bit. So I've seen between 8 and 9% so far, keeping my eye on it and seeing that it tracks with the 16%. I'll show y'all again this curve. So I've got the highway assistance on. It is taking this curve on the highway all on its own. Super great. I can still pay attention, but I just am putting in a little less work. And as you can see here, there's an exit to my right, but the VinFast, okay, it adjusted a little bit, but it hung on to the left dotted line instead of veering off to the right, which I know that a lot of Teslas, or Tesla Autopilot, full self-driving aspect does that. But the VinFast typically tends to cling to the right, to the correct line on the road, which I really appreciate, obviously. Sometimes I think at higher speeds, with maybe a steeper angle of a curve, it loses confidence, it needs some help, it asks you to take over. But generally, this kind of highway curvature, easy peasy, even this. So let's see what happens. The lane gets big. You heard that beep. It can only find one line, and it's going to just keep me on that center line. I just hit 10%. All right, well, 65.6 miles. All right, everyone, we are off of the highway. It's starting to rain, and I'm noting that at even 8% low power mode, I'm not really hindered by a power cap at this time. So that's pretty cool. That is probably a benefit of the high voltage of this specific EV. And yeah, I mean, that's something that I know you can still kind of send it even at a low red 8% battery. So now I'm going to find the Electrify America station and charge up. Yeah, it just started to rain now, so that's pretty good. It didn't really affect the test. Otherwise, pretty perfect conditions. Generally, where I think the VinFast excels is maybe not efficiency, but more in the things that offset perhaps where it lacks in efficiency. It doesn't really make a total lot of sense to me why they wouldn't look for a bit more efficient ways to you know, make the car lighter, to build in just more efficiency into the EV. And I do know that it takes longer on road trips to charge. I don't think your stops are generally going to be 15 minutes. I think they're going to be more like 30 on average to really stretch it so you don't have to stop at a ton of chargers. And I wouldn't hold 80 miles an hour. I know that Kyle is like, that's probably what people hold on the highway in an EV. I certainly don't, because I don't want it to run down. But that was a fun first one. First test in the VinFast. I gotta say my hopes were, I don't know, I think they were pretty informed based on living with this, that it wouldn't be great. And this is what I would kind of classify as a poor performance. I think 100 miles on the 15 minutes is pretty good. 150, 170, 120, those are even a lot better. So to hit 66 miles, that's not much. That's really not much. I think it's really the 80 miles per hour though. I don't think this car is meant to go super, super fast. I wonder if even how just 75 miles per hour would change the efficiency based on the driving that I've done. So if I'm going to show you like the stats and everything, so you just have the last details before we wrap this up. We've got an efficiency of 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour. Like I said, typically I see around, I mean, look at that, 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour for essentially since we've had it, which is far higher. I don't know about this 9 miles per hour either. I'm really not sure how accurate this is, because I've seen in a whole trip it go from like 60 or 70 to 4 randomly. So I do think that's one of the bugs. So I was just looking at, as I charge, the other 10% challenges that we've documented on the Out of Spec website. You can look at all that data. This is kind of smack dab in the middle between the Lexus RZ450E and the Ford F-150 Lightning. Settles in there between like 68 and I think it was like 66. This was around 66, 67, something like that. It is, I did look though, it is wedged between those. So that gives you an idea. I mean, the Ford F-150 Lightning is far larger than the VinFast technically in size, but I do think that the way that this car is built in terms of how it makes it efficient isn't super concerned with efficiency. All right, Kyle, you've heard the news. VinFast can finally charge at the Rivian Adventure Network. Just kidding.
Clearly red.
Clearly red, you cannot do that. But Kyle, we've ended up at the Rivian Adventure Network together by chance. The VinFast did better than what you thought it would.
I thought it would do 61 miles.
And it did 66.
6.
Yeah.
0.5.
Right. Not great. Higher than the Ford F-150 Lightning.
Low bar.
Very low bar. That's a truck.
We've proven that's a bad road tripping vehicle.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that the VinFast is maybe the best in that aspect, but that's going at 80 miles an hour. I do wonder. Like, I cruise at 75 mostly. So what would the 70?
Well, you could say that about any of the cars. They would all do better and do better exponentially because, you know, of course, air resistance is squared. So it's a logarithmic curve. It's exponentially worse to go faster. But that's why we run 80. I mean, I think out here in the middle of nowhere, I drive like more than 90 most of the time. So 80 is a good, happy balance.
Sure.
So VinFast, actually not too terrible. So that both the Audi e-tron, the old one with lots of cobalt, and the Q8 e-tron, the newer one with the bigger battery, did 73 miles and you were 66. So it's not that far off.
No, it's not that far off.
However,
it's low.
But what happens after the 15 minutes is this still goes down. The e-trons rip. So if you like to do the deep charge thing, this gets worse and worse and worse you know, if we did a 30-minute charge challenge,
Yeah.
this would be significantly worse than the other vehicles that kind of just sit flat. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of saying earlier, is that your stops on road trips are going to be long with the VinFast because you don't want to be stopping that often, I would say.
I would do the opposite. So I would run this to 0 and stop at every charger, because then you're keeping your charging in the peak window.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way.
That is.
That's the out of spec way to road trip. Same with Teslas.
Yeah.
You got to hit every supercharger. So, you know, I think
that just becomes a problem when there's not that many chargers.
At the end of the day, I think a lot of people are going to lease the VinFast, and they may have to do the occasional trip. And while the Lexus RZ450e, which is the BZ4X, did better, because that one had the better battery in it than the Toyota, that did 73 miles. That wasn't too terrible. That only gives you 1 charge a day before it limits you. This actually has pretty consistent performance. Doesn't seem to be too temperature sensitive.
Charge it whenever you want.
And honestly, I think like for the occasional trip that someone might take, like you drove it to here, totally doable.
Yeah, exactly. It's doable. It just might not be the quickest trip or most efficient trip that you have in an electric vehicle.
That's right. So anyway, I'm it did better than I expected by
a hair.
Miles. And I would actually say the car's not as bad as everyone imagines it is.
Yep.
And as I imagine it is.
We'll see what the other tests turn out like.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
All right.
What was your efficiency? 2 point something?
2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, I think. Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yep.
My Rivian was like 2.1.
Yep.
And that's huge.
VinFast. Well.
See you guys.